When I was 15 and living in Clapham, South London, I filmed something in the sky that I've never been able to explain. For years I thought the tape was lost, but as it turns out, it was actually buried after some old family holiday footage, and I hadn't looked at it in decades. I only rediscovered it recently while showing my wife the camcorder transfer, and accidentally let the video run on. Given how much attention the new Farah documentary Age of Disclosure has generated, with senior government officials openly discussing unidentified anomalous phenomena, decades of secrecy, and the possibility of non-human intelligence, it felt like the right moment to take a second look. So I ran the clip through a modern AI visual analysis model to see what it would make of it. I had no expectations, but what came back was, well, pretty shocking. I'm going to show you a minute-long clip of the footage and walk you through exactly what the system detected, what it ruled out, and why this 30-year-old clip might actually show something genuinely alien. Here's the footage.
There now seem to be about 5 lights. Ben! Ben! Okay, right, should be able to see. Oh, Ben, there's loads of them now. Well, I don't know, there was 5 at one time.
So this was filmed on the 8th of September 1997 on a Sony handheld camcorder. The resolution isn't fantastic, it's a little shaky, and it was filmed at dusk, so the lighting isn't great. But the objects in the sky are very distinct. There are multiple bright orbs, white, spherical, and visibly independent of the trees and houses in the background. Some of the orbs remain stationary. Others drift away and then return. They don't move in formation. They don't blink like aircraft, and they don't behave like stars, satellites, or balloons. That's what I always remembered. But here's what the technical analysis actually confirmed. The AI model processed the video frame by frame and extracted the precise coordinates of every luminous object that met the criteria for being an external light source, not image noise, not a lens reflection, and not the bright street lamp visible on the right side of the frame. Across the minute-long clip, it detected multiple orbs appearing, disappearing, and shifting position. At one point, there were 5 visible orbs. The important part is how they move. The analysis showed that the orbs move in different directions, at different speeds, change relative positions, separate and rejoin, and do not follow the same drift pattern. This is critical. If these were balloons or lanterns, they would all drift together in the direction of the wind. If they were aircraft, they would follow linear paths with predictable movement. If they were stars, their relative positions would never change. Instead, the objects in the footage behave as independent, free-moving light sources. This matches what many researchers classify as multi-object UAP behavior. The algorithm's motion and brightness mapping allowed for elimination of several mundane possibilities. 1. Stars or planets. Stars remain fixed relative to each other. These orbs don't. They peel off, return, and shift position with no correlation to camera motion. 2. Aircraft. There was no strobing, no red-white aviation lights, no linear movement, and no sound. Multiple aircraft hovering silently over South London in 1997 would be quite noticeable. 3. Helicopters. It couldn't be helicopters, for the same reasons. The sound, strobes, and hover capabilities don't match. 4. Balloons or lanterns. Balloons must drift in a single direction at a constant relative speed. These objects do not. The analysis shows one object moving left while another moves right, while others stay still. That is not passive, and it's not wind-borne motion either. 5. Camera reflections or lens artifacts. The lens flares tracks with the camera. These orbs stay anchored to the sky even as the camera jitters. These are external objects. 6. Drones. One of the most obvious modern explanations people would jump to today would be drones. Today it's easy to imagine a cluster of hobby drones with LED lights hovering in formation. But this was in 1997. And when you look at the technical reality, the drone hypothesis falls apart almost immediately. Consumer drones simply did not exist back then. The first commercially available quadcopter wouldn't appear for another decade, and even the early prototypes used by universities and military labs were extremely loud, unstable, and capable of only a few minutes of flight. They couldn't hover silently, and they couldn't maintain fixed positions in the sky for long periods, and they definitely couldn't move independently and return to a formation the way the objects in the footage do. Second, the brightness profile is all wrong. The orbs in the video are luminous points of light with no visible housing, no structure, and no directional beam. Early drone lights weren't powerful. They were small LEDs, not free-floating spherical light sources. The analysis picked up clean, consistent light signatures, not the pulsing, angular reflections you'd expect from LEDs attached to a physical body. The motion characteristics don't match any drone system from that era. Drones drift, wobble, and correct their position constantly. Their movement is jittery, especially in wind. The orbs in the footage, however, hover with an almost unnatural stability, and when they do move, they drift smoothly. No oscillation, no compensation, no mechanical adjustments visible in the motion tracking. And finally, there's the sound. Early multi-rotor drones sound like angry lawnmowers even today. The footage was shot in a London neighbourhood at dusk. If a cluster of mechanical devices had been hovering overhead, the camcorder microphone would have picked it up. So the drone explanation, while convenient for a modern viewer, is simply not compatible with the technology of the time. Here's the behaviour that stands out. The system identified 3 characteristics consistent with UAP classified phenomena. 1. Stationary hovering, sustained stable positioning above the horizon. 2. Intermittent movement. Individual orbs drift away from the cluster and return. 3. Non-uniform velocity. Motion that does not follow wind, gravity, or flight path patterns. This matches patterns recorded in modern UAP reports decades before drones or LED swarms existed. So in conclusion, I want to be clear, I'm not saying these are alien craft, but the AI visual analysis proves the footage doesn't match any conventional aerial phenomena, and it is backed up with measurable data. Here's the simplest, most honest conclusion. In 1997, I filmed multiple luminous aerial objects over South London whose motion patterns do not correspond to aircraft, helicopters, satellites, balloons, stars, insects, or reflections. The model identified them as independent light sources exhibiting non-classical motion, which places them in the category of unidentified aerial phenomena in the literal sense. After rediscovering the tape, I went back and checked the official records from that era, specifically the Ministry of Defence's UFO desk archives, which were declassified in batches between 2008 and 2013. The MOD logged thousands of reports across the UK from the 1950s through to the early 2000s, including everything from lights in the sky to structured craft sightings. But there is no mention of any UAP or UFO activity over South London on or around the 8th of September 1997. Nothing in Clapham, nothing in Crystal Palace, and nothing in the wider area. No civilian reports, no police reports, no radar inquiries, no corresponding entries of any kind. Which means, as far as the historical record is concerned, This footage has never been documented, analysed, or even acknowledged. This is the first time this particular sighting has ever been made public. I still don't know what to make of it, but I wanted to share the video publicly, given a growing consensus that our governments should be far more transparent about what it knows. I'm going to post the full 10 minutes of footage in a separate video, the entire sequence exactly as it was captured on the tape. What I've shown here is only a small portion of it, and the longer clip makes the behaviour of these objects even more apparent. You'll be able to watch every moment of it without interruption and judge for yourself what you're looking at. My goal here isn't to push a theory, it's simply to document something I saw as a teenager, something I assume was lost and something that, viewed through the modern tools and in the context of what serious people are now saying publicly, deserves a place in the conversation. For decades, the topic has been dismissed, laughed off, or buried in bureaucracy. But if our institutions are finally acknowledging that some of these incidents involve real, physical objects showing capabilities we don't fully understand, then it seems reasonable for the rest of us to take a more honest look at the evidence we already have, even if it comes from an old camcorder in a South London back garden. I don't know what these objects were. The analysis doesn't offer a final analysis, but it does show that whatever was in the sky that evening in 1997 wasn't conventional aircraft. It wasn't weather, it wasn't drones, and it wasn't a filming error. It was something else, and now the footage has resurfaced. It feels like the right time to put it out there. So if you're interested, I'll be releasing the complete uncut footage next, the full 10 minutes exactly as it was captured in 1997. Watch it, study it, slow it down, replay it, and see what you make of it. And if you want to make sure you don't miss when it goes up, just hit subscribe and turn on notifications. This is one of those cases where the more eyes on the footage, the better our chances of understanding what was actually in the sky that night.